surprise. I'll just quiet the mothers in this room. Can I express a warm welcome to everybody here to the second part of the celebration, because we've just been down at the town hall and unveiled the plaque, and we're going to be unveiling a plaque tonight at Blackburne House. My name's Cllr Christine, I'm the Chief Executive of Blackburne House, and it is an honour and a privilege, and especially standing in front of the wonderful choir who we had an ethical fashion show, didn't we, was it a month ago?
Yeah.
And they sang absolutely beautiful. And I know they've got some special pieces this evening in celebration of the centenary of women getting the vote. So we're really, really proud. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over and raise the roof. Okay? And this is Chaos. Thank you. Woo.
We are the suffragettes. Think you know some fierce gals? You ain't heard nothing yet. Suffragettes sing, we're gonna do our thing. Our voices made equality this century, so all take note. Now women can vote. Thank you, brave sisters, for making history. Bum bum ba da ba bum. Alas, for merely forty, founder of our cause, started a battle for our rights. Argued that the government should change the laws. Here is how she stated her plight. How come girls can't vote for rules that we have to obey when we work and pay taxes too? Parliamentary action was urged to go away. How dare they diss the suffrage crew? Suffragettes sing, we're gonna do our thing. Our voices made equality this century, so all take note. Now women can vote. Thank you, brave sisters, for making history. Bum bum ba da ba bum. First into Parliament, shouting votes for women. Action vote was shocking and new. Chained ourselves to palace gates, attention was burning on the WSPU. Burned down churches, smashed up shops, attacked MPs. The result, we were thrown in jail. This made us more determined, as you'll come to see. Did we give up fighting? Hey, fail. Yes, say, we're gonna do our thing. Our voices made equality this century, so all take note. Now women can vote. Thank you, brave sisters, for making history. Bum bum ba da da dum. We became more extreme. Derby Day, June 13, in front of King and Queen, committed sacrifice supreme. Crowd unseen between the team and crowds watching the race. I threw myself under a horse to try and make our case. Became a famous martyr. How did men react? We can't give women votes if they're so stupid they'll do that. Suffragettes sing, we're gonna do our thing. Our voices made equality this century, so all take note. Now women can vote. Thank you, brave sisters, for making history. Bum bum ba da da dum. Let me tell you what I wish I know. When I was young and dreamed of glory, you have no control who lives, who dies, who Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, stand by me. We're getting fed up of all the drama, our she's coming subject of panorama, war training going on, who's to blame? We think it's time to name and shame. Our communities are gone, there's nothing to do. The youth need a hero, will it be you? Shootings and violence, hate and fear are not the things we want here. Liverpool is a city we call home, the only place you'll never walk alone. Remember that and do as proud. No more knives, shout it loud. Listen to this message from the Chaos Crim. Stand by me and I'll stand by you. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me, stand by me.
Girls are all welling up here. That was just too much. Absolutely. Another round of applause. This is our next generation of voters. You're going to change this world for the better, aren't you?
We've got some prime ministers in here.
Oh, definitely. Kerry, could you come and please take a bow?
Thank you.
Wonderful, what you So, my opening speech, and I would like to say, Lord Mayor's distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, and our vote 100 are here today. Welcome to Blackburne House. This has been such an eventful year, and these young people have been on that journey, and I love the hairdressers. I might borrow one to St George's Hall later. But also I'd like to thank moms who are all in here with your children, and you must be just so proud of them. But they've been on the journey with us this year, as have our people who we've got the 100 craft group that have been working on all kinds. There's some of their stuff there. They've been working all year on building beautiful crafts, putting together lovely things. And we had the most amazing, during Black History Month, an ethical fashion show, which was truly amazing. And there you see, and it's just coming on in time with the Vote 100. And this is what we've been doing all year, is that we've been sending out those messages, celebrating women from around the world and from our own hometown here in Liverpool, at the astonishing work that's being done. We just had a fabulous time down at St George's Hall, yeah, on my brain, at the town hall where we unveiled the plaque there. And again, it was a very moving ceremony. Moving in the sense of not sort of tears, but tears of joy that we got to this point, that women got to this point. And we need that to go further, because some things are lost, you know what I mean, kids? You know, sometimes you lose, and in that last bit of all that, you know, you were saying some of the things that are challenging our young people today with knives and all those kind of things. So we have to stand tall and stand together and empower you lot to do some great things. So now I'd like to pass over to our first speaker this evening, which is who is the chair of Blackburne House Group. And Liz Cross has been with us on the journey in this organisation for a long time. We kid people in here, we say, oh, will you just come and do something? And then 26 years later, they're still here with us. But Liz is an amazing woman who's done fantastic things, not only for women in this region here, but Manchester and beyond, and nationally and internationally. So we're really proud of Liz. Our chair, Liz Cross.
very much, and it is absolutely an incredible moment, isn't it, to be surrounded by people of every generation coming together on a day like today to celebrate the fact that we as women have the right to vote. And it's a historic date in terms of the enfranchisement of women, but we stand in a historic building. This was the first girls' school in this country. And I wonder how many of you know that. Clearly gasps, appropriate gasps from the audience behind. Because a very brave individual decided it was right to let girls have an education. Can you believe that people ever thought otherwise? Well, of course, we know in this world there are still people who think that girls should not get an education, and children who fought for that right. And of course, some who've actually paid a price quite dearly in terms of violence committed against them. So it seems somewhat fitting, I think, to be here this evening to build on that wonderful occasion afforded to us by having a woman Lord Mayor in our presence, who gave us, with others in the city, the opportunity to have a plaque to recognise this particular day, and yet come to this place too and actually unveil another plaque. History is that thing made by people who sometimes we get to know their stories, we get to know them from our history books or schools, but actually history is made every single day by ordinary people who choose to say something brave or challenge injustice or step up to the plate when somebody says something that's discriminatory. And we should never think that we are not part of history, because we make it every day when you stand up to sing, or you stand for election, or you challenge a neighbour for saying something that actually suggests that we're not all equal. We know at Blackburne House, because of the years of work we've done to provide opportunity to give people, and women in particular, access to education that leads to enterprise, to challenge racism, to challenge discrimination in every form, and to stand proud in this particular building and to expand into other communities. So it's a historic date. Here we are on a historic site, but we should never think history is what other people make. We should be humble and proud that we're actually making it every single day. And I hope that all of you will take the stories of this evening back to school, back to your communities, to remind people that rights that are well fought for should never be taken for granted. Because we know around the world, as quickly as they're granted, a change in a vote can see the erosion of those rights. We see it happening in nations that stand proud in this world, but I think should show a little more humility than perhaps they show strength. So today is an important day, not because we're just looking backward, but because we're looking forward. And what we know when we look at Blackburne House and our history, 36 years ago when people thought we'd be a project, we were in Hardman Street in Trades Union Centre. I don't think people thought we would be here today, standing proud and standing true to what is needed not just today, but standing true to what's needed tomorrow. You have an opportunity every time you come to Blackburne House to be part of that history, to tell that story and to help other women access education that leads to enterprise. And tonight at St George's Hall, we have a further celebration where we hope to raise money for bursaries, because certainly 26 years ago when I was involved in Blackburne House as it is now, we were talking about giving out bus passes in order to enable women to actually come to access education. We were providing childcare at a time when people were not worrying about the barriers to education as we were. Now we're giving out food parcels. You know, when did that ever think it would be part of our history? So tonight when we celebrate today's historic event, what we mustn't forget is the struggle goes on, that we must raise money, we must be generous, we must hold an abundance mentality in all that we do, be very proud of what we've achieved, but ambition to achieve more together and for those people who are still voiceless or unable to access democracy. So I'm very proud and very humble to be given the opportunity as an adopted Liverpudlian, all the way from Toronto in case you're wondering where the Irish accent came from, but to stand in a city that actually stands for justice and actually does stand up for people, and to be in a city that recognised Blackburne House by giving us freedom of the city as a mark of the work that we had done and the achievements we've made. So it's an historic occasion, but it is a future-facing occasion. And when we go to unveil the plaque, I hope that you will look at those who've come before us. Catherine, whose name is quoted on the plaque, who was Liverpool born, campaigned for the rights for women to have the vote here, moved to New Zealand, and actually continued the campaign. And New Zealand was, in fact, one of the first countries in the world, I think the first country in the world, who had true equality for men and women in the voting system. What Liverpool creates, it exports to the world, but we should also retain its roots in terms of the justice that we stand for. We also have the words of young people who have been gifted to us in a plaque that will be here for many, many years after many of us have perhaps retired, or perhaps will be coming back just to see your concerts again. And those young people talked about the ideals of those who've gone before us should live through, but I would suggest remain relevant. So when I hear a rap, like the rap we heard, I hear a relevant story being told through a medium that is important for us to listen to, even if on our ear it doesn't quite land as easily as perhaps music of our early childhood. So it's an incredible occasion, an occasion of joy, but an occasion that we should remember is actually a springboard for the campaign to continue, to make sure we never allow injustice to stop anybody's voice being heard. So, raise your glass if you have one, if not high five your neighbour, that's fine too. Can we say to this wonderful occasion, congratulations to all that's been achieved.
Fantastic, thanks very much, Liz. We'd like to move on now to asking our Lord Mayor if she'd say a few words. So, Lord Mayor, if you'd like to, thank you.
I had a big speech down the town hall, which was lovely. But while I was listening to the other women speakers, three things come to my head. Cllr and I, years ago, met David Milband on the top of the... Remember? Yes. And we had all these men who were asking questions, and we were looking over Shabazz Park. And Cllr and I asked two questions. Mine was, how many apprenticeships is on that site? And Cllr's was, how many young women are working on that site? And he said, good questions. Remember?
Yes, I do.
Good questions, because even going back then, we were thinking about young women. And we were the only two that asked those questions. Were we the only women maybe?
Yes, I think so.
We've got local women as well. Very just. And it was taken. And then the other thing I was thinking about is, people ask me why I've become a politician. Well, I had a grandmother, and she was a very, very strong woman. She was tough. And she was a conservative, by the way. She was a bad woman, and every night she used to come home, there used to be this shop front, and the fascists were in there, that's where they held the meeting. So she'd have all the dirty fruit from the barra and throw it out the windows. Every night she walked past, and the police sergeant said, you know, Lizzie, I'm going to have to arrest you one day. And she said, if you can catch me. I'm fast. She was a strong politics for a woman, because she was widowed at 42, carrying her 10th child. So she had to work hard to bring her children up. No money then, no food banks, no nothing like that. But she was a very, very strong influence on my life. And then last night there was a vigil for the transgender group. And there was a woman from Guatemala got up to speak about what happens to transgenders in Guatemala. And she lost two of her friends to gun crime. And this woman went through a really an horrendous attack. And I won't explain that attack, but how she lived and how she continues to live after that attack, no one knows. And I had to speak after this woman, and I couldn't speak, because everyone was crying and I just could not get the words out. Somebody else has to speak for my speech. And we have a message to go out there, and I meet a lot of young people, international groups, that want to make a difference in the world. Now, the first difference you have to make is your education. No matter what, that is the most important, because then you will travel the world and you will take them words about hate crime, about knife crime, about racism, about equalities. So please, please listen to your parents, because we all want a good education for our children. You will be the next generation to take that message out. And please do that. That's all I have to say. And thanks for the invite.
So thank you, Lord Mayor. It's amazing the journeys that women take, and just listening to, I mean, I remember so well at the, it's now the Radio City Tower, yeah, but we were up there, and yes, it was one of those moments, wasn't it? Like, yeah.
We took over.
But there's so many moments like that, and just before we go and pull the curtain on our plaque here, which again will be, I tend to cry a lot, girls. It's not a sign of weakness, it's happiness. It's just thinking about some of the women here that have passed through our doors over the years. And just before you came in, there was the rotation of the women coming through. And one of our students, Philomena, who was from Uganda and lost all her family in the genocide there. And she came here, and because where she was from, their language African, but they speak French. And she couldn't speak English, and her young boys kept saying to her, "Mommy, you've got to learn English, you've got to learn English." And in the end, she said she came and enrolled here. And as she was telling the story at our graduation, we were all so emotionally drained. Can you imagine losing every one of you in your family, and you just escaped with your 2 little boys and came here? And I'm just so proud of her, because now she's a senior lecturer at John Moores University. And that's what we need to do, is to support other women to do great things, and to support our children to do great things. And this is what this organisation is all about. It's about supporting women to do great things. It's inside them, and all we do is unlock that talent and that potential that lies within all of us to do good things. And so we're very proud, and we are so humbled by that we have been part of this journey through this year. It's not over yet, but we've got the choir tonight. And listen, if they don't sing as good as you, gang, I'll have words. But we have the 100 voices down at St George's Hall with Jennifer John. But before we go to unveil our plaque, I just want to say, because we're going to have to go out of here around the corner to do this, I just wanted to thank a number of people. First of all, Lord Mayor, Cllr Christine Banks, thank you so much for all you do in the city. And the story about your mum was amazing.
Grandmother.
Grandmother?
Yeah. My mother was tougher than her. But my mother was a lady. She was so posh. Posh, my mother.
But you know, it's a testament to you, how they brought you up, and you're there, and I'm sure they are so proud of you and what you've achieved. And the members of the Vote 100 working group, who have worked with our team here at Blackburne House. And so I'd like to thank Councillor Anna Keys, Councillor Anna Rodbury, Jeremy Wilson, Jeff Dunn, Alex Dunn, and Megan Hall of the Schools Parliament. Can we give them all a round of applause? And on our side here, our team who've worked so hard. So we have Max sitting here, Robin over there, and all of them have worked so hard, But thanks for your coordination there. You've done a great job and with the team, so thank you. So we get to the part where the Lord Mayor, who said this is the best part of today, and we've got the curtain.
Like a child with a new toy.
So I think the team will lead the way, and let's go and unveil our plaque. Yeah, everybody here? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Stop! Please go back.
Parada, né?